So you've done the database searches, you've done the pre-surveillance work, you're out in the real world now working as a private investigator, doing surveillance, and you get pulled over by the police while you're following somebody. What do? Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, which is premium private investigator training from someone who's been there and done that. And I actually have one of the guides in the series is the Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Surveillance. And this is just something that it pays pretty well, and it's a neat thing to do from a business perspective, if nothing else. Think about all the stuff you can learn and find out online, but there's still things you can only find out by going out and doing surveillance. That's very good news for you as an investigator, because that means people will hire you to do that job. So you're out doing surveillance and you get pulled over by the police. This has happened to me. I can tell you exactly how I've handled it, and I would suggest think about these things. Might be the way you want to handle it as well. I got pulled over when my subject got in his car and started to move. I backed out of the spot that I was in. Normally I like to be pointed nose out from a spot, but I mean, let's face it, being covert is part of it, blending in, and in this particular case, just from the way I had to sit, it was best to sit nose in a parking lot, pulled into the parking space. When my subject moved, I backed out. I went to move to catch up with him, and in the process I went too fast and I was speeding. Totally my fault, totally guilty of speeding, totally deserve a ticket. But my subject's going and I'm trying to catch up. What happens? I get pulled over by the police for speeding. What did I do? Did I identify myself as an investigator? Did I try to explain? Did I pull out my badge? No. Sat like every other citizen in the world and did the traffic stop the way you're supposed to do a traffic stop. So what does this mean? It means first signaling, pulling over to the right. For me, I like to turn off the engine completely. I put on the hazard lights. If it's at night, this one in particular I'm talking about is the day, but I've been pulled over at night. If it's at night, I turn on the dome lights as well. If you've got tinted windows, you can roll down the windows so he can see in more easily. And I put my hands up on the steering wheel at 10 and 2, and I do not take them off. I wait until the officer comes up to greet me at the window, and I follow the officer's instructions. Will this get you out of a ticket? No, not necessarily. I don't know that it ever has for me. I have not had a lot of moving violations, but I do recall in the past I've been pulled over. I've been cited sometimes and not cited sometimes. Part of it may be my attitude. Part of it may be that the officer is looking for something in particular. When he realizes I'm not it, then he or she moves on. I don't know. These things that I'm teaching you and telling you are not designed to get you out of a ticket. If that does, more power to you. They're designed to keep you and the officer safe. So in this particular case I'm talking about, yes, I got the ticket. Yes, I went down to court. I will say that, and I was very fortunate in this particular case because, as you know, private investigators frequently do surveillance alone. That's why in my training course, Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Surveillance, I really concentrate on single investigator surveillance techniques. I teach the techniques when you have multiple investigators available, but the reality is we frequently do surveillance alone, right? In this particular case, I did have another investigator who was following, and so I was able to call up ahead after I was clear from my ticket and find out where they were and catch up, and everything went very well. That was like an $85 expense. I wasn't planning on that surveillance, but you should be charging enough money to absorb the random and rare expenses that do come up during these things. Gosh, that's a whole lot of information, more than I really planned on sharing, but keep in mind all of those things, including pricing your services right, considering when you need to be working with another investigator, but mostly really look at how to behave during a traffic stop. It'll save you a ton of grief. You do not want to be on the news for anything like this. Just take your medicine, pay your ticket, move on with life. This is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.